The tournament fighter genre was once king of the direct-to-video world. In the late 80s and 90s, you'd practically trip over them at the video store. Almost every box art was the same, some oiled, muscular bicep man staring at you with piercing eyes as you're greeted with some epic movie title like Bloodsport, The Quest, or Lionheart. Did I mention that most of them are Van Damme flicks? Well, most of them are Van Damme flicks. The genre had been evolving for years. 1973's Enter the Dragon is one of the biggest and best tournament fighter flicks, and Karate Kid came out 4 years before Bloodsport, but I believe it's Bloodsport that really hammered in the formula. You could even say that it's 1986's Karate Tiger, aka No Retreat, No Surrender, a film clearly banking on some of the elements of Karate Kid, launching Van Damme into the Bloodsport role, which in turn launched the Bloodsport style of tournament fighter films. And not even just films. Did you know that Mortal Kombat was originally meant to be a Bloodsport game? The character of Johnny Cage was modeled after Van Damme's character Frank Dukes. From the fight gear with the random sash on it to doing the splits as a special move. In that same vein, we had films where they literally wanted the lead to look like Van Damme. Can't get him for Bloodsport 2? This dude looks enough like him to fool people. The ones actually starring Van Damme were naturally the ones that were more popular. Kickboxer and of course Bloodsport are beloved films in the tournament fighter genre to this day. But not showing any love to the cash-ins is a crime. So let's take what we can get from the 1990 lesser-known tournament fighter film, Karate Tiger 4, King of the Kickboxers. King of the Kickboxers, on paper, is a pretty simple tale of retribution. But that's the great thing about exploitation films. They take something paper thin and stretch it as far and wide as possible so you can see every sinew and bulging vein. A kickboxer that was meant to throw a fight ends up not only winning the fight, but winning the title. Before he can celebrate with his younger brother, he's pulled over by the dodgy underground fighting commission people because they don't stand for an American winning the title, especially when the one in charge is Billy fucking Blanks.
Come to congratulate me, huh?
You were not to win tonight.
I couldn't help it. There wasn't much competition.
An American could never be champion. You shouldn't have won the fight tonight. And you won't win this one.
Not familiar with Billy Blanks? Well, for the casual viewer that only watches this show because I'm just so irresistible, allow me to give you some much-needed filling in. Billy Blanks had a brief stint as an action star, but to genre fans, he made quite an impact. He even starred alongside Roddy Piper in the 1993 film Back in Action, but mostly he's known as the 7th degree black belt big-ass motherfucker that invented the martial arts exercise Tai Bo, a mix of Taekwondo and boxing. That being said, let's watch the inventor of a wide-selling self-defense program beat a man to death in front of his little brother. If that wasn't enough, Billy amps his bad guy card up to a whole other level.
Something to remember me by.
Jesus Christ, man! I mean, at least the older brother was a fucking kickboxing champion. There's some respect to be given there. But kicking a kid in the head? There ought to be a dirty motherfucker award for that or something. So with such a standard of low morality already set, you're probably wondering if this guy could possibly get even more evil and cringeworthy. Well, what about being the star of an underground martial arts snuff film industry? Oh yeah, I think we have a winner. This is one skeezy slime ball of a motherfucker. The worst of the worst. So bitter he makes black coffee taste sweet. So mean he makes bad look good. though our bona fide baddest of the dudes has but one weak point. For a snuff star, he is the world's most polite rapist.
All the women are beautiful. But I want her.
See, Billy here had his pick of the litter of basically rape victims, but before any grave spitting could happen, she asks if she can go freshen up in the bathroom, and he allows it. Naturally, the girl gets away. I mean, really, what did he expect by letting her out of sight with a closed door and a window?
Imagine that. The world's fiercest killer, and he can't keep a woman in his own bed. We ought to make a movie out of that.
For every menacing bad guy, there's a heroic, justice-fueled good guy, and he comes in the form of Jake Donahue. It's been 10 years since Billy Blanks slaughtered his brother and kicked him in the fucking head. In that time, he became the most badass rebel cop since, well, any given Sylvester Stallone stereotype. Jake is sent in undercover to infiltrate a gang of drug dealers, and let's just say his methods are somewhere in between unorthodox and downright insane.
Hey, man. Hey. That's a good one. You're okay. Hell, you can hang with us anytime, right, guys? A fucking cop.
Nah, just a plain old cop. Fucking's got nothing to do with it, really. I am. Look, here's my badge, and I'm wearing a wire.
Damn it.
Guys, I'm not gonna be needing you after all. I can handle these assholes by myself.
Before backup arrives, Jake takes the gang down with his bare hands and seems to be enjoying it a little too much.
Does that hurt? Huh? Good!
Is this seriously the good guy? He's not that much more maniacal than Billy Blanks.
Look, I had to get the bus and I got it. Clean. No problems in court.
Except for cries of police brutality.
Those bastards are going away for a long time. End of story.
The captain gives Jake an undercover assignment in Thailand. Having bad Billy Blanks memories, he's reluctant to accept and goes home to think it over. He'd be posing as a tournament fighter, so the snuff film talent scouts pick him up for their next movie.
Looks like a Bruce Lee movie without Bruce.
Clever writing. Kinda like the one you're in? Other than spotting that the films are terrible, Jake notices that the lead is none other than Billy Blanks. So now he's forced to accept the assignment because he's being given a chance for revenge. I thought about making some overused Oscar moment joke, but honestly, what could I possibly do to enhance the hilarity of that? Seriously, what is he even doing? It's like he suddenly had a stroke or something. Crazy Jake arrives in Thailand, and already he's making damn sure that people notice him. Nothing screams, "Put me in your snuff film," better than a screechingly loud Hawaiian shirt or a frayed denim vest. He fits right in to the cast of Miami Connection. Jake makes his way to a kickboxing academy to start making some waves. He shit-talks the fighters and backs it up, getting himself kicked off the premises for being too much of a street fighter. There's a romantic subplot shoehorned into the film in the form of escaped potential rape victim girl. Her name is Molly, and Jake saves her from Billy's goons. They talk a bit, and she doesn't show up again until the third act obligatory heterosexual lead sex. Now, this happens in a lot of movies, but a lot of movies don't have dialogue quite this unique.
Jake, I'll take what I can get with you. And right now, I've got you.
Take what I can get? Ladies, hell, even fellas. Next time you're about to get some, I dare you to say that, just to see the reaction you get from your lover. Well, with that out of the picture, let's touch on the majority of this film's center, which involves Jake preparing to do battle with the awesome Billy Blanks. After his cocksure demonstration at the kickboxing school, he's followed by a student who ends up kicking his ass. Jake, now unsure of his own skills, opens up to the student and tells him about his assignment. I really shouldn't laugh. Billy Blanks could kick my ass. The Kickboxer scoffs at the idea because the only man who ever came close to defeating Blanks went off and became a hermit in a small northern Bangkok village. The former champion's name is Prang, and naturally Jake seeks him out. What he finds is what appears to be a withered old drunk who gave up on the world a long time ago. Obviously, it's just a masquerade, because when some marauders attack the village, Prang snaps back into action like a fucking sleeper cell and shows that he's still got all the right stuff.
I had him beaten, but my concentration was broken, as well as 4 of my ribs.
Is that so? That's kind of like saying I definitely would have finished that big sandwich, but I got too full, so I threw the rest away. Or like, dude, I would have kicked your ass had you not have knocked me out cold. I'm sure Prang isn't supposed to come across like he's full of shit, so let's just pretend that this is a real endearing tale of great strength and Rocky 1-esque near victory. The training segments are actually really fun. The great thing about these old martial arts flicks is that the way the characters train would probably murder them in real life. Now, I am not a trained martial artist. I'm not a martial artist at all, but I'm pretty fucking sure that this would kill you. I mean, come on. Remember what happened to Poncho in Predator? That one log incapacitated a ripped Special Forces motherfucker. Just one. I don't really care how much of a badass you are. Fancy kicks and washboard abs aren't going to save you from a bigger-than-yourself thing smashing into you at full force. Not even the Predator itself could handle that shit. So anyways, Jake masters the triple logs of death and can now officially face Billy Blanks and withstand the triple kick combo that killed his brother 10 years ago. After winning an underground kickboxing tournament, Jake is offered a role in the newest Snuff film, but little does he know, Billy Blanks has plans to up the ante on this particular feature.
I once killed a man while his young brother watched.
Things take a grim turn in the climax. Prang is murdered and Molly is captured and forced to watch Jake and Billy fight to the death in the Thunderdome, dressed in really silly outfits. Billy especially. That mask is so spastic on him. It's like 3 sizes too small. Classic. Jake and Billy engage in the final showdown, consisting of fast kicks, devastating punches, and face-splitting swordplay, while having room to play Mind Wars, too. After slicing Billy's mask off and cutting his face, Jake taunts him by showing him a picture of his dead brother, though all that really does is Hulk Billy Blanks up. Jesus, look at that monster! Tybo, motherfucker! We reach an obvious but still epic climax of Jake telegraphing Billy's triple kick combo and owning the sweet merciful crap out of him. King of the Kickboxers is a film that I highly recommend if you're a fan of tournament fighters. The fight choreography is really quite excellent, and it has a surprisingly interesting story. A lot of these types of films are about some sort of underground organization, namely just illegal fighting, so I think it's quite unique to incorporate the whole snuff film thing. It kind of adds a horror element, which is pretty damn cool. It separates Billy Blanks from the usual type of victory-driven bad guy in a martial arts film. Having him be this highly trained lunatic that gets off on killing people on camera through a generic karate movie storyline really makes King of the Kickboxers stand out in this genre. Aside from the dozens of B martial arts action films, Billy Blanks had a minor but memorable role in my favorite Tony Scott film, The Last Boy Scout. He plays Billy Cole, an overstressed football player who blows his brains out on the football field after shooting several players on the opposing team because he's too deep in betting debts.
Hey, life up, bitch.
Also, his character in King of the Kickboxers is the direct inspiration for the Super Street Fighter II character, DJ. Lauren Avedon, who played Jake, is a lot of fun to watch and still has a pretty active B-movie career. The way he played Jake was sort of like if Randall Graves from Clerks was a batshit crazy martial artist.
They made contact this afternoon. I'm in.
You're in?
Yeah. I don't know if I should tell you guys. They told me to keep it quiet.
Well?
Okay, I guess I can trust you.
You know what I can do with that? I can do without the people in the video store.
Which ones?
All of them.
His goofy scream was apparently meant to be funny. He had been directed to do a Sly Stallone-esque yell, which he did about 4 or 5 takes of, and didn't like how it turned out. What I think is pretty cool about him is that he was in the first 3 supposed sequels to No Retreat, No Surrender, aka Karate Tiger. King of the Kickboxers is Karate Tiger 4. Lauren was also in 2 and 3. And so I don't risk another Return of the Living Dead sequel fiasco. There are technically 9 Karate Tiger films in total, at least that I know of. And none of them are canon to the Bruce Lee Ghost Russian Van Damme original.
But I'm not finished yet. You always argue. I let up and still you give me shit. Into the water with your sorry ass.
Prang was played by Keith Cook, who went on to play Reptile in the Mortal Kombat film, and Sub-Zero in the terrible sequel Mortal Kombat Annihilation. King of the Kickboxers had on-location shoots at the Ayutthaya Ruins in Thailand, a location that would also be used in both Mortal Kombat films. It's a shame that these kinds of movies aren't as prominent as they used to be, but there are some modern-day tournament fighter gems. 2011's Warrior is fantastic, well worth checking out if you're a Tom Hardy fan and love watching him be an absolute animal. The Undisputed films are awesome, namely parts 2 and 3. Scott Adkins is amazing as the most complete fighter in the world, Yuri Boyka. The fights in this movie are fucking breathtaking. They'll slam you right back into what the late 80s tournament fighters were all about. King of the Kickboxers was written by Lucas Lowe, who wrote the original No Retreat, No Surrender, along with parts 2 and 3, and American Shaolin, the supposed sequel to King of the Kickboxers. So if King of the Kickboxers is actually No Retreat, No Surrender Part 4, would that make American Shaolin Part 4.5? The subject of snuff films is something that fascinates me a fair bit. It's one of the few things left in the world that's still a mystery. A lot of people make claims to seeing a snuff film and or knowing what one is, but I think a lot of people have huge misconceptions about them. For something to truly be a snuff film, it needs to have a vague plot of some sort that ties in with a person really being killed on camera. This is something that is yet to actually be discovered. Cannibal Holocaust was thought to be the world's first true blue snuff film until Ruggero Deodato was forced to prove that the death scenes weren't real. Flowers of Flesh and Blood is another one that sent people into a bit of a fear frenzy. In the 90s, it was forwarded to Charlie Sheen of all people, who thought it was a real-life murder flick, but it turned out just to be a short film with incredibly well-done gore effects. Snuff films are something that I truly hope stay as a mystery. It's a step in human depravity that we just shouldn't be taking. Think about how desensitized we already are. Live death films coming into circulation would certainly shock many, but you just know that some corporate dickbag would try to capitalize on it because there's an audience for absolutely everything. Just look at Honey Boo Boo. You can go to bed tonight with at least one positive thought, no matter how shitty your day was. Snuff films are not real. They do not actually exist.